gonna start out. This is my colleague's presentation today. This is mine. So no pressure, thanks to my friend over there either. As Jill and I do on a daily basis, we dumpster dive all the time. We did some dumpster diving into the recycle bins here in the hotel, and I'm gonna say, Amy, wherever you are, Amy, if you're still here, there's a lot of wish cycling going on, even in our own conference, because there was a lot of stuff in there that shouldn't go in there. I think we might have some pictures, Heather, later. I don't even know. Okay, we'll have some pictures. So I'm going to talk a little bit about vape pen recycling. I'm very technologically challenged, as Jill can attest to. This one? We do collect vape pens in Indian River County. It's a fairly new project or pilot that we had started, but we found a great need. And unfortunately or fortunately, when we did our research as to which markets were the largest, it happens to be middle school. And they have a lot of vape pens that they collect. And what we found was happening is the sheriff's department was confiscating for the nurses these vape pens and throwing them in the garbage because they had nowhere to put them. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of vape pens from the middle school. Not so much the high school, but the middle school. So just food for thought, that's a very big target area right there. Okay, so here are some facts. And I'm not gonna read every verbatim because we can all read, and I don't like when people do that, but the most one that sticks out to me is this is enough lithium-ion batteries for about 6,000 Teslas. Now, I don't know if any of you know, but we had a huge explosion of those Teslas, I can't even say that, on I-95 just last week. And to give you an idea of how relevant lithium-ion batteries are, this article was in the news this morning about a animal rescue shelter that had an explosion from a lithium-ion battery and the animals died. So it's there everywhere we look. And some of these statistics are pretty scary. I'll let you read it for yourself, I'm not gonna read it. These are actual pictures from fires in Indian River County, and yes, that is a WM truck. Mike can attest to that caught on fire because of these lithium-ion batteries. So we decided that we were going to start a pilot program. So we work with the school board, we work with all of the schools, we work with the sheriff's department. We also currently have close to 30 active vape stores that participate in our collection program. And our goal for the future, as Jill could say, is we're going to get every vape store that we can in Indian River County to participate. Because they are the key. Again, like I said yesterday, they're not the manufacturers of these pens, but they're always looking for somebody to take them so that they can be recycled properly instead of throwing them out. So they're very willing to participate in our program. And you can see to the left, that is one of our vape stores that is the biggest. We don't do anything really spectacular like Jean does with the collection receptacles. You can see we provide everybody with one of those 5-gallon buckets. We provide all the signage. We do all the marketing and the advertising. We spend about $20,000 a year just on our vape pen collection program on advertising. And again, we work very closely with the sheriff's department. They're a big key element in helping us with our program. This is an example of our advertising that we're using currently, and some different receptacles that we're using. And will it work now? Just hit it.
Vape pen waste is a real problem. Throwing your used vape pen in the garbage or a recycling cart can cause serious lithium-ion battery fires at home, in collection trucks, and even at the landfill. Good news! Residents can now properly dispose of their used vape pens at one of the 5 customer convenience centers, the Main County landfill, or at a participating retail store. For more information on this program, visit indianriver.gov. Roll with us, Indian River County. Recycle.
So we do have 5 customer convenience centers that do have receptacles to collect the vape pens if people want to bring them there. But we collect most of them either through the sheriff's department through the schools and also at our retail stores. That's where we collect most of our vape pen materials. Republic Services, who we have a contract with, does take the vape pens. So here's some information on our program success. We've currently collected over 220 pounds since the inception of 2024 of vape pens. And we do have a contract again with Public Services, who picks up our HHW and also takes care of the vape pens. Where do they go? What happens? Well, they're sorted for safety. So again, as Jean was saying, you know, there's different kinds of pens out there. There's different kinds of chemicals that are in each of those pens. So it's a very big safety issue if they're not stored correctly. They separate the plastics, the metals, the batteries. They dismantle them during a very complicated process by certified recyclers. And then the lithium-ion batteries, if they're approved for re-life, are recycled. And all the other remaining stuff is destroyed, basically, including the liquids, whatever it is that's in there. So I wanted to talk a little bit, and I know Jean asked about it. What are some of our biggest challenges or our hurdles? Number one is storage. For a while, we were storing all of the vape pens that we collected, so we had, 9 or 10, Jill, of these full buckets in our office, which is, I don't even know, 10 by 10. And it smelled really gross, like Jean said, but we also knew that that was not a very good safety issue. So we have some issues with storage, and as the program grows, we get more and more calls for pickup. So what we do is a vape pen retailer calls us, we go and swap their full bucket for a new bucket. And that is another big issue because it's just Joe and I. We're kind of a one-man band. And so because we're growing so much, we're going to have to look at better ways to help to pick these things up because the retailers, they fill up really, really quickly. So we are starting to grow the business into bars and restaurants as well. We noticed that a lot of the bars, they have vape pens that they need to get rid of, so we're starting to put some receptacles in some of our local bars and restaurants, and clubs, nightclubs that have these vape pens. What, Tina?
Europe has tons of nightclubs.
Oh yeah, we have tons of nightclubs, yeah, sure. So that's kind of our next step, where we're going with the program. And of course, like Amy was saying and Jean was saying, you know, education is the key. And working with these retailers because they need the support and they're very grateful for the support. So, in my little one sheet, that's all I have, but I guess we'll answer questions afterwards?
Yes.
Okay.
Next up, we have Frances Henshaw from Service Solutions.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me here today. I'm not as eloquent as Sue, so I will be reading a lot, so please bear with me. So, we're a leading battery recycling material and management company with facilities all across North America. Before I get started, I want to say that you are a critical audience for this topic. Everyone in this room are on the front lines of Florida and the country's recycling infrastructure. You understand what it takes to move policy into practice, and you know better than anyone that the gap between what should happen and what actually is happening on the ground is where the real work lives. Okay. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Service Solutions, we are the largest battery recycling operation in North America. We've been doing this for over 35 years with the largest footprint of operations across the country. We also have a location in Trail in British Columbia. So we handle every battery format, every chemistry, from the tiny AA's in your remote controls to full electric EV packs, with over 10 years of experience commercially processing lithium ion. That happens right in our Lancaster, Ohio facility. We have facilities in 6 locations and are one of the few companies that does end-to-end. We offer collection services, logistics, all the way through to in-house shredding, hydrometallurgical processing to recover critical minerals like lithium, cobalt, nickel, and others. The last part is key. We're putting those materials back into the supply chain to be used over and over again in the manufacturing of new batteries. We're working to create a closed loop approach across North America, and that's why we're here today. So what you're looking at here is the full picture of what we do and why we talk about battery recycling as a closed loop supply chain challenge, not just a waste challenge. From the consumer batteries piling up in junk, I can't get my words out there, my teeth back in junk drawers and garages across Florida, to production scrap at gigafactories and end-of-life packs and e-mobility. Every one of those streams needs a home. And the volume of material heading our way is about to grow dramatically, which brings me to the next slide. So, today the US generates roughly 115,000 tons of lithium-ion battery material available for recycling annually. By 2030, that's just 4 years from now, that number is projected to hit 600,000 tons. That's 5 times growth. By 2035, 1.46 million tons. That's 12 times where we are today. So just let that sink in for a second. By 2035, the US will roughly need 10 to 15 times the recycling capacity it has today just to keep up. Now, some of that is from EV packs, some is from the production scrap from gigafactories across the country and energy storage systems. But the fastest growing sector is consumer and portable batteries, the ones in your phones, your earpods, your e-bikes, which are everywhere nowadays, and your power tools. So that last stream is the most relevant to everyone here. That stream depends on community level infrastructure to educate, collect, sort, and get to a recycler and processor safely. Okay. So, I'm just going to talk through here a few numbers that frame this challenge. And the data tells a really compelling story. Less than 15%, that's the current US consumer lithium-ion battery recycling rate, according to the EPA estimates. More than 50% of Americans who use lithium-ion devices daily do not know where to recycle them, which we covered yesterday in Mike's, they're ending up in the recycling. More than half admitted to throwing them in regular trash bins, and more than 40% were not aware of the safety risks associated with lithium batteries. The awareness gap is real, and it has direct consequences for collection rates. So 3 times, that's the forecasted growth in US lithium-ion cell capacity between 2025 and 2030. More batteries in the market means more batteries that need a responsible end-of-life pathway. And the last one, 448, that's reported battery fires at recycling facilities which were in 2025. That's a record high, up from 430 in 2024. And the vast majority are attributed to lithium-ion batteries that were improperly sorted into single-stream recycling. They were damaged, defective, or left without terminal protection. Reported costs were $2.5 billion in damages. So that last stat is not just an operational issue, it's a safety issue for workers, for facilities, for communities, and is preventable. So this slide highlights where battery recycling infrastructure stands today. On the positive side, we're seeing strong state leadership with Florida DEP advancing guidance and initiatives like Take Charge Florida. Collection channels are also forming from municipal household hazardous waste programs to retailer and auto dealer take-back options, supported by tools like our Service Solutions We Recycle platform. However, gaps still remain. Access is inconsistent, especially for damaged or recalled batteries, and there are limited public-facing options for larger lithium-ion batteries. Combined with safety risks and the lack of statewide EPR framework, there's still meaningful work that needs to be done to build a fully effective, accessible system. So how Service supports communities. So we meet communities wherever they are on their end-of-life battery recycling journey. On the collection side, we offer DOT compliant kits, bulk containers, scheduled pickups, scaled for everything from a small municipal program to a large generator. For damaged, defective and recall batteries, the DDR stream, we have specially designed kits with UN-approved containers, self-extinguishing liners and anti-static packaging. This is purpose-built for the most challenging material and is where we see some of the highest safety risk if it's not handled correctly. We also provide reverse logistics support for HHW programs, end-to-end processing for all battery materials and chemistries and formats, EV, ESS services for fleets, dealers and manufacturers, and compliance and EPR support for programs navigating regulatory documentation. We've been working with some programs here in Florida for years, and we want to deepen those partnerships and expand to other municipalities. So if you're a public collection site and you'd like to be listed on our interactive website, please talk to me after this session. It's a free resource and we want to grow that. So focus for the future. This might be the last one. So Florida has a real opportunity to become a national leader in battery circularity. That's not aspirational, it's within reach, but it requires alignment across processors, municipalities, retailers, DEP and residents. So here's what I'd encourage everyone in this room to focus on. Increased municipality support through funding, packaging solutions and safe transport. The infrastructure needs investment. Development of scalable collection standards, both at the community level and across the state. Consistent standards reduce confusion, reduce safety risk, and make it easier for residents to do the right thing. Collaboration on statewide standards and programs. Potential EPR legislation. This is where policy and practice come together, and this community has a voice in shaping it. Workforce and first responder training. The people handling this material need the tools and the knowledge to do it safely. Expansion of battery circularity initiatives across Florida, because the demand is here, the market is here, and the infrastructure is forming. So what we need more is coordinated action. So that's really it. Thank you everybody for your time and attention. The work you do every day in advancing recycling in Florida is so important. It's genuinely important work, and I'm grateful to be part of this conversation today with such a knowledgeable audience. I've learned a lot since yesterday as well, listening to everyone, and you know, it's been great to be here. So thank you.
That ends our presentation for today. So thank you to Sue and thank you to Francis. Now we're going to do questions and answers. If anyone has any questions. All right, we'll start with Jean.
All right, Sue, explain how you worked. How did you reach out to law enforcement, or did they get in touch with you?
She's on a most wanted poster.
law enforcement reached out to us. They had heard that we started this pilot program and they were very supportive. Actually, they even, when we brought it to the Board of County Commissioners, they even had representation there with us. So they have had a big concern for a long time. Even things like, whether you can believe it or not, when they have the prisoners that go out and clean the sides of the roads, they have to really watch them because those prisoners will pick up those used vape pens because there might be a little bit of material left in them. And so they confiscate a lot through the prison as well of those vape pens. So yeah, they did reach out to us.
Thanks. Anybody else? All right, we got Carmen over here. And while Carmen is getting the microphone, Sue, do you feel that the education and outreach make a difference in increasing proper vape disposal?
Absolutely. Again, because there is that void there, and like Francis was saying, there's nowhere to put them. They don't have any outlet, and they don't want to throw them in the garbage. They know better than to do that. So, yeah, it's key. And when we walk in those stores to initiate the program, we kind of get that look like, don't. You're trying to sell me something. But when they realize that it's a free program that we're offering, and all the marketing and all the advertising and the containers, they're right on board.
Carmen?
Francis, do you see any planning to come into Florida with a brick and mortar presence to try and cut down on some of those transportation costs?
There's nothing in the plan, sorry, there's nothing planned. There is, well, we have a site based in South Carolina. That's the next plan. So we've already located and purchased a site, and I think it's on hold at the moment. I think it's just waiting on funding. Things changed when new government came in, so I think they're just looking at the requirements and just on the funding side. That's the next plan and location.
Okay, and also for Francis, can you share a lesson that you've learned just from your experience in this industry?
I think lessons are learned, the lessons that have been learned is education. Educating the workforce to, and like just basic sorting and understanding what they're touching, and that can lead to a fire by just putting the wrong battery in the wrong waste stream. And that would be fundamental. It's like something basic, but it's one of the most important things.
Any other questions? Yep.
All right, so when you're bringing this out to the businesses for the batteries, are you having them tape them off or do anything to prevent any kind of internal processes there for liability purposes as your county entity bringing in a bucket per se?
Yeah, no. And I think that the repercussions are far worse than taking the risk of having the collection bucket there. So no, we are not claiming any liability or having any of those hiccups. It was approved by our Board of County Commissioners, and so we just got the green light and we're going for it. Some of the vapes, pen store deal, whatever, they'll fill that bucket up and overflow it by the time we get there to swap it out, so.
Our guys have boxes, so
Yeah.
I'm like the bucket, but now I gotta sell the program, so.
Yeah, we got boxes, we've got buckets, we've got some of those clear containers that they can put on their counter so that it encourages people to leave their old ones there. Signage, signage for their windows, advertising, we're in every print. You heard the radio ads, so a lot of marketing out there for it.
Thank you.
Well, we'll get it. We have some questions over here, but I have one in the meantime. Does your program meet disposal requirements by the EPA and FDEP since you are collecting a lot of dangerous materials?
Notice I'm hiding over here. Yeah, I think the goal there is to get them, well, obviously it was to get them out of our office, but get them to Republic Services as soon as possible. So now what we're trying to do when we collect one of these buckets, we're gonna bring it either right to the CCC or somewhere that Republic Services can pick it up, so that it's not in our office.
All right, Jen.
This question is for Sue.
Oh, sorry.
I think I was Forgive me. How are they transported, and who is transporting them, and how is it funded?
Republic Services is transporting them currently because we do have a contract with them, and our hauling contract says that they have to take them. So they haul it.
And that brings up another great question. How much is this costing your program?
Well, as far as marketing and advertising, and containers, we're spending close to $20,000 for that particular program every year. So we budget it in our budget, so it's a big chunk, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
There's a need, and like Francis said, it's gonna keep growing. It's not, that was incredible, those statistics. It's so scary to think, and just to see every day you can wake up and see there's some kind of lithium ion battery fire somewhere. We've even had 2 now at our landfill. One, thank goodness, was caught by the sheriff's department that just happened to be flying a helicopter overhead, because we wouldn't have noticed it. We also lost our MRF, our holding facility, our big top tent, to a lithium ion battery fire. It was a hot truck that came in. He didn't know his truck was on fire. He emptied his load. It was a battery from a scooter. So, like you said, big, yeah, e-bikes are huge.
All right, Jean.
To the point that you just made, Sue, on the statistics that Francis you showed, pretty impressive increase. Are you all publicly held, or publicly traded, or privately held? Because I need to know where I need to put some money in.
That's a good question. I think we're owned by a company, it's Heritage Group. So, to be honest, I'm not sure if we're publicly or privately owned. I think it's a privately owned business. So there's a lot of investment that's been put into Serba, for these issues. But the company was originally 3 individual companies: Retrieve Battery Solutions and Arkwood Heritage. So they merged a few years ago to make a much larger, stronger company together. The lithium ion processing up in our Lancaster facility, that was originally Retrieve Recycling, but the company has grown substantially over the last few years. We've just increased building, like we built a new building, finished last year, so we're processing 4 times the amount in that building than we were in the other locations. So yeah, and we're just always looking for feedstock, so send it our way.
And one more for Francis. What do you say is the first steps for people trying to prevent these ever-increasing battery fires? For a lot of us have MRFs and transfer stations out here.
I would say, again, it's the education, and something basic is the sorting into the screens and protecting, somebody mentioned about, I think it was on vapes, Jean mentioned about the protecting the terminals. That's so important. We're telling our customers all the time that they just cannot send us batteries and are not protected, because that comes into our facilities. You're putting people's lives at risk as well. So that was I would say the education.
Any other questions?
Yeah, this is for Francis. Can you speak more to the partnerships that you have grown with communities in doing this type of collection?
Yeah, we partner with a lot of communities across the US. So we have a battery. One of the main and popular items we sell is a We Recycle kit. So that will take, we've got 2 different sizes, and it's a one price fits all. So it's dry recycling. So that gets sent out to whatever office orders it, and they've got a year to recycle in that kit, and it includes the mail back costs as well. So it's very popular. It's very simple to use. It comes with instructions and battery protection, the baggies and everything. So that's a very successful item that we sell. So, and we're always there, we give advice. We also we've got no minimum pickups either. So, you know, if somebody says they've got a pallet of batteries, we can arrange the transportation and pick that up. I mean, unfortunately at the moment, with the costs of fuel, you know, those charges are rising, which is out of our control. But we, you know, depending on the battery, we give credits or there's charges depending on the lithium ion. You know, if it's an EV pack, depending on the size, because there's costs involved with breaking them down so that we can feed them on our conveyor belts and shred them. But we always have like an outreach program, so if anybody ever needs advice, you know, we're always there at the end of the line to help out.
And collection events as well?
Yeah, we do actually. So mainly at our facility. So Mesa, Lancaster, Ohio, Michigan. We have, throughout the year, we have different events. And sometimes we'll go to, I think like we've had an event recently at Detroit Zoo. So we'll be there and we'll be getting the word out to the community and, you know, give them the opportunity to bring their batteries there. We take them away free of charge.
All right, another round of applause for Sue and Francis. Heather is going to come up and speak for a few minutes and remind everybody that we have a session 4 at 10:15. So you have a few minutes after this session to go see the exhibitors next door.